Hello, this is Roseville Mayor Dan Rowe. I wanted to take a moment to thank Arts Roseville and the Ramsey County Library System for their Featured Artist program and for adapting to our current times by taking the program online in order to reach a wider audience. I believe the arts are important to us both as ways to express the feelings and emotions of our lives and our times, but also to find peace and meaning and hopefully understanding through creative expression and the enjoyment of that expression by others. I hope everyone gets a chance to connect with the Featured Artist program and to appreciate and support the great local talent we have.
Welcome to the Arts Roseville Featured Artist Program, a partnership of Arts Roseville and the Ramsey County Library Roseville branch. We are so grateful for this partnership. My name is Eden Bart, and I am on the board of Arts Roseville, a local nonprofit organization with a mission of advancing arts, creativity, and community in Roseville. We're thrilled that we can continue to feature local artists through the Featured Artist programming, virtually for now, and we're so happy that you're joining us. Enjoy the program.
This is the Featured Artist program of Arts Roseville, and we're happy to have Jason Etten with us this week. Jason,
hello.
Can you introduce yourself a little bit? Talk about who you are and why you're our featured artist this month.
Sure. Well, my name is Jason Etten, and I grew up here in Roseville and moved back with my wife 17 years ago now to raise our family. And so Roseville's been close to me. My parents still live here, so I have a lot of deep connections to Roseville. I grew up, started playing violin in first grade, and then was in high school choir and Minnesota Youth Symphonies as a high schooler. I went to college, went to St. Olaf College, and majored in vocal and instrumental music education.
Ya,
and have been doing that since. And so most of my career has been in the Moundsview schools at Irondale High School, where I've taught choir and some orchestra, and I've been there. This is my 22nd year. I just finished up there teaching music there. I'm also on the city council here in Roseville. Just got reelected in my third term, and so obviously that connects me into this world in a different way. So I think we'll talk about that more later.
Great.
So one of the quotes I heard about you was music is a whole family pursuit.
Yep.
Can you expand on that? Does that come from your childhood or your current family?
Yes.
Okay.
Growing up, I think we had a very traditional growing up, or old school even, in the sense that we would sing songs at home. My father's side especially, his brother and sister both did music, and my father sang and played clarinet and things like that. So we would just sing songs in car rides and things like that you hear about in stories. And certainly I think that was some of that foundation. And my mom liked to play some piano. She woke us up in the morning to Good Morning to You on piano. So it was just kind of around in our lives. Again, started on violin and had fantastic experiences with that. And then in ninth grade, I could do choir and orchestra, and said, hey, I love both of these. And so found a way to pursue both of them. But then music just keeps coming on. So now my wife plays oboe very well and piano and such, went to Luther College and didn't major in music, but is a great musician herself. So our children were doomed to have a life of music. And so just this weekend for our church, St. Michael's Lutheran here in Roseville, we provided much of the music for the services on Sunday and Monday. So my daughter and I played duets and on the violin, and my son and I sang a duet, and my wife accompanied, and then we sang the hymns and things like that. So that's a wonderful thing, right? To share that positive piece and to see your kids take interest in things. My son is in the band program here at Roseville Area High School and is having a fantastic experience there. And well, I want to go early and help set up. Sounds great, you know. I think high school music teacher, like, yes, thank you. So seeing that he understands there's a big picture to making that whole thing happen is also, I think, a positive. Like, yep, that's what we do to make things good for the world. So
that's great. And I think we've got a video that we're going to include from that. Did you get recording?
I have some videos for you to share as part of the video later here.
Oh, fantastic. Good. full disclosure, you and I spoke the other day and we realized that we have some connections in common. Your teacher growing up was Ellen Kim from the Northern Lights Suzuki School. My wife is a teacher at the Northern Lights Suzuki School and is a partner of Ellen Kim. And your daughter was in my wife's group classes. And so we've got that in common. That's and it's really a cool thing that your daughter is taking violin lessons from the same teacher that you had as a child. How does that play out?
I think it's delightful. Sometimes I think my daughter feels pressure from that, but it's a beautiful thing in the sense that I think I'm able to help her with her lessons. And now Ellen said, "Hey, it's time to do less, Jason. Let her do her own thing." And so that's been a negotiation for me as a professional educator, music educator, to go, "Hey, where's my role?" And Ellen's helped me work that through, but. Then for her to say, "Oh yeah, your dad can help you with that," and "Oh, you guys are playing together in church this weekend." She said Thursday because she, our organist and music director at our church, Tom Barch.
Oh, of course, yes.
Has played for Northern Lights for decades and played for me starting in first grade, and so we have all these funny connections. So she'd heard, "Oh yeah, they're playing." So for me, it will come back to this theme more, but it's about that community. There's that sense of there are all these people who are working together towards this common good. So
That's great. That's great.
Okay, so I love this. So working together towards the common goal, good, also puts me into the public servant public policy framework. And do I understand correctly that you also majored in social studies?
no, but I would have if I wasn't a music teacher.
Very good.
Yep.
Okay, so I was thinking about what kinds of characteristics would lead toward success in both roles or be, desirable. So one I thought of was discipline, self-discipline.
Yeah.
The preparation and practice on both sides needed to be ready. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure, I think that's absolutely right. Where you are in music, you're always refining, you're always trying to take in information and understand your music better to get better at your music. And it's absolutely, you have to be prepared to do well, right? The work shows, doesn't show up to most people. You just see people playing the violin, or you see people singing, or you see people whatever. And that's certainly true for work in the community, that a lot of that work is, for me, it's not about me. And it's about what do you need to do to help the situation or make this thing better or whatever. And a lot of that is background work, talking to city staff, talking to people in the community, going out and researching and learning more about something. So when you walk into a city council meeting, okay, well, it's not a performance, but in the sense that that's your time where you have to come in prepared to do what your job is for the community.
Another thing I thought about for both areas was deep listening. Listening in the sense of what you're talking about, going out in the community and listening, but also being in the city council sphere, listening to your fellow council members, and thinking about that almost like an ensemble, a performance ensemble, that you're in your deliberations at council meetings, listening to different perspectives, bouncing ideas. I should quit answering my own question.
That's great, Kathy.
Can you talk about?
Certainly there's an aspect of that in music. For me, especially in choir or playing in an orchestra versus playing by yourself, it is about that intersection of community and listening outside of yourself to make something greater as a whole. And that's, I think, one of the biggest connections between what we're talking about. But I think one of my biggest pieces of growth over time as a city council member has been to make sure that I'm continuously listening. I was just talking to my son about some feedback he got. It was sent to them he's working for Park and Rec now here and coaching little kids and 4 and 5 year olds. And he got some feedback, and it was something that they can't really control. He says, "But I can't control it." I said, "Okay, but is it right?" "Well, yeah." "All right, that's okay, right?" Negative feedback, or feedback that seems, at least appears negative, is okay. As long as you're saying, you're taking in, you're listening, put it in perspective, and try to learn from it and say, how can we make it better? How do we do this in a different way? So I guess the listening might feel different, but it's certainly a huge part of that whole process of being a good part of a team.
Yeah. There was, you've probably seen this too, going back to the preparation and the listening and the kinds of work that goes into creating an ensemble. Mm-hmm. There's a video of I think it was a high school orchestra director at a concert, and he says, okay, you hear us play, and I want to talk a little bit about the preparation here. We work really hard to make sure we're all together and all playing the right notes and all at the right time. And he says, so I'm just going to show you real quickly what happens if that doesn't happen. I'm going to ask each of the players to play one wrong note, and at some point during this thing, play one wrong note or play the right note at the wrong time or whatever, and go. And he brings them in downbeat, and it's cacophony, it's noise, it's horrible. Just one person at a time making one mistake creates unbelievable noise and everything else. And it just goes to show the kind of preparation necessary on the part of the leader of that, but what is asked of those kids at the same time.
I think that's one of the things that students learn from being in an ensemble, and that's certainly mostly for me in a school setting or when I was directing youth orchestras, whatever, is that sense that 90% doesn't work. So I've had colleagues do that before, where they say circle one of every 10 notes and intentionally play it wrong in whatever way, and say, here's 90%. And the audience doesn't like 90%, right? So how do you pursue excellence? I talk about excellence all the time in our classroom, and I talk all the time about teamwork towards that, right? You hear people talk about group projects and whatever class, and so-and-so didn't really do anything, and that doesn't work in our world. And I think that's a fantastic life lesson, because most of life doesn't work when two people work and no one else does or whatever, that we say, hey, here's this common goal, here's this common good that we're working towards, and we all have to get to a level of excellence. That's the way it works, and that's then what you walk away from that's pride, that pride in working, that pride in being part of something excellent is a huge thing. It's a life experience for those young people, or for those of us who do that also as adults. So,
and there's a way of bringing along those who may be lagging. There's a way that they feel like, I have to catch up to this excellence when they're a part of that. They want to contribute rather than detract, and that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And the part of our job as an educator is to help them find that spark in whatever ways that we can positively, at least from my perspective, positively. And it's not always easy, right? But that's the human aspect of the teaching, is how do you connect with those young people in a meaningful way that they know that you care, and if they're feeling that, then they're more likely to jump on board with whatever song or whatever thing you're doing, right? So there are all those dynamics of human life that is the great thing that teaching is.
So back to my characteristics, I also had thought about creativity in both fields. Do you see that? Is that a...
Sometimes I think people see creativity more naturally in the arts, so I won't spend too much time on that. And one of the things for me, as I hopefully get better at my teaching, is looking for more and more avenues for the students to contribute to the creativity. It's not just the director saying do this, and let's try this. What's your idea? What's your idea? Okay, let's try them. Let's vote, and so the students have more of that, and we have them pick music for their Pops concert each year, and so giving them some role in that, and that's something I keep learning. But certainly creativity is part of all arts, and that expression is part of that. In the City Council, I think the greatest part of creativity is, for me, I work very hard to find common ground and to get things done, right? And so the creativity is finding where can we all agree on something that gets to the goals that we have. And I don't mean to bring the Supreme Court in, but sometimes we see the Supreme Court in diametric things, and you see some of their votes, especially this spring, and you go, huh, how'd that happen? You know, and where you see a dynamic of working together, and they're coming around. There's some things they're willing to fight about, there are other things like that was a 9-0 decision, huh? Or an 8-1, and finding that way forward that the group can say, yes, we added in these thoughts and these thoughts, and we heard this from the community, and we did this, and here's this combined thing that works for our community. So I think for me, that's an art form that I work at all the time. So that we are getting things done, but we're including these different pieces and trying to find something to pass that works for people in these different ways.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about this past year.
Sure.
Because, you know, for most of the arts, we were shut down. People were sitting in their homes. They were, you know, binging Netflix perhaps. But the communal spirit of participating in the arts was gone. And you, as a music teacher, had to really come up with new ways of creating that. So can you talk a little bit about what you found during this time?
Yeah, I would like to say I don't want pandemic 2.0.
No.
That was hard on all of us, and teaching choir over Zoom is not a thing that you do. You don't have the sound on, or else, speaking of cacophonies, you get terrible situations. So you're singing or playing recordings and having the students sing along, and over time, most of my students had their videos on, so you know they're engaging, but you know there's some who aren't, and the job is to try to connect them. And again, that coming back to even when we're in person, how do you connect to the student who doesn't feel connected or doesn't feel on board with that? But that was just made much worse this year. So we were talking before we started the video about tools for making recordings or participating in lessons, and had to create new tools and use new systems and new software and help the students learn the new software to do things. So those were special challenges. In the middle of the winter this year was not great for me personally, for the student, you know, and so worked very hard to help them feel like they were still part of something. But one of the biggest things I did this year is, when it was safe and in a safe way, try to bring them together to sing. So we ended up with 3 live concerts this year. This fall, before the world shut down hard again, we had a concert in our gym spread out across the bleachers, and no family was allowed, and we videotaped it and sent the video out, but they were together. And the response, I always do kind of feedback from the students, see where they're at. The response from the students were overwhelmingly positive, because they were suddenly around people again. They were singing with a choir again, and that's that. It was in an online thing about what new teachers need. That the human beings, the students, are 1, 2, and 3, but then we use a special sauce of music. So the special sauce of music poured on top of those human beings who were finally together, and they felt it, right? And then long time later, here in April and May, we had a couple of concerts, and to bring people back in and together was so warmly received. Was it our greatest music ever? Nope. But you learned the importance of being together. You learned the importance of making music. And so yeah, we had some struggles. We did a December concert that was all virtual, and that was one of the least rewarding, most painful, struggly things. And I think some of the students got something out of it, and a lot of them didn't. And because they didn't sign up to sing into some camera, you know, and send it to some online platform. And so that was one of those times where you say, yeah, this online stuff doesn't really, you lost all of those emotions. So that was a really hard low point in the middle of what hopefully will, you know, wash away into our memory. So
yeah. Last year, I'm a musician myself, and when the pandemic hit, I said I'm gonna do a Facebook Live show. You saw a bunch of these. I did a Facebook Live thing every week, every 2 weeks, then every 4 weeks, and then just stopped, because what really happens when you're doing a performance is you get the energy back. And when you're staring at a thing like this,
Yeah.
there's no energy coming back, and you're like, why? Why? This is a lot of work.
Now
And
do it every day with blank screens.
It's right, and for the students who are trying to learn, who are trying to find that. Boy, there's just not enough feedback and like you say, the energy of bodies in a room just changes everything.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. One of the things I tried to do is we would create soprano, alto, tenor, bass recordings, and then a soprano strong one, an alto strong one, so they could be at home and they could practice and they would hear their part strongly, yet they could hear the other parts. So trying to mimic at least some of the acoustics of it. But even that, that has a role, but it's nothing like them being together. So
yeah, my father sings in the Edina Chorale.
Sure.
He's 83 years old, and he's still singing the Edina
Great.
Chorale, and it's fantastic. And they did some concerts during this, and he had to get this set up and in a closet with all of his all of the clothes, because there couldn't be any
other sounds.
no other sound, nothing.
Yeah.
And he said it was the worst experience of his life, just trying to do that. And then it all came together and everybody was singing on the screen, and that was lovely, but it was not a happy experience for him.
Yep, same thing, absolutely. I'm with your 83-year-old father on that. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, but particularly for high school students, that if you're in band or orchestra or choir, that's your tribe, that's your group.
For a lot of them, yeah.
And you hear each other and listen to each other, and so even what you were talking about, the recording where maybe the alto is stronger, it's still not the two altos you're used to on either side
Absolutely.
of you,
Yep.
or hearing the tenors.
And you don't see your
across
friends when you walk in the door.
That's right.
And, yep, those are big differences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had talked about kind of how you thought you had grown into the council member role, grown some strengths. What do you think is personally your best quality, and can you comment on how that expresses itself in the city council work and in performing or being as a music educator?
My best quality overall?
Yeah.
Should we ask my wife?
I think it's your hair, isn't it? I think it's your
my
hair.
I don't know. Man,
Sometimes
we all had
that's-
pandemic hair. I had a nice person say, I want to try some new things. So I don't know what's happening on my head, but she was excited. So my greatest person.
Sometimes it's an easier question. What would others say is your best quality?
Wow. People shouldn't ask questions like this. So yeah, I'm from Minnesota, and we don't talk about ourselves that much. We talk about others. No, so I think a big part of what I try to do is that everything I do, I want to do it well, right? So, and there's a lot of aspects that take to do that. And you talked a little about that preparation for music or teaching or city council work. That when I'm doing things, I'm going to do things well. That you'll never get something from Jason Etten that is half done, that is sort of okay. It just won't escape from me, if at all humanly possible, right? So whatever it takes to be prepared for something, I'm going to do that. So I don't know if that's a personality trait or a disease, but the goal is that you're always professional, you're always working hard. And for me, it's always working hard for other people, right? I say that I have two jobs, as a city council member, as a teacher, and all of it's about someone else. It's all about someone else, right? I don't do any of it for me, though you get a lot out of these things in different ways. Certainly, they take a lot out of you too, right? So, but it's about seeing young people grow is the coolest thing on earth from my perspective. Seeing the community advance and have things that are good, that people feel great about, whether that's a change in policy that moves us in a new healthy direction, or whether it's this building that we're sitting here at, the Cedar Home Clubhouse and Community Building. That certainly there's always going to be some controversy around some things, but this building's used all the time as a community asset. And we went from what was literally a double wide trailer for Cedar Home for many years, that was a space that people really didn't want to be in, to a space that people can feel pride in, right? So same thing, we talk about singing and do the choir and this reaching excellence. When those students walk off that stage, they say, I was just part of something really good. And that felt good, right? So we're always doing something for others, and that others in the end say, hey, whatever I'm part of, whether it's the City of Roseville or Irondale Choir Program, whatever, are feeling great about what they're doing. Fantastic.
It is.
Let's just leave this open for you to say, what haven't we asked that you'd like to answer?
Can we talk about being Minnesotan again?
Sure. What's your favorite hot dish?
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know.
Isn't it grape salad?
I think I've said a lot, but again, the biggest thing for me is it's about community. They're all these things are about community, and that doesn't mean people always agree. I've had plenty of oppositional feedback to things, but I'm always working in that big picture. And with the young people, sometimes you got to get down in the dirt and help, but the goal is that 2, 3, 4 years from now, when you're a senior, we're at this point, right? Here making decisions as a city council member. Someone may say, well, you didn't really listen. Well, I did, and here's how we change this. But that doesn't mean everything changes because I got this feedback from over here and over here, and these city council members did this, whatever. So it's that big picture work that isn't always easy. And but at the end of the day, hopefully people say, yeah, it was done well. It was respectful. It brought us to a better place in the big picture.
That's great.
Okay, I've got one more.
Yeah, all right.
So what music do you listen to relax?
It depends.
Okay.
Yep, music is a tremendous tool for our emotions. Sometimes you need a certain thing, like in this moment I need this. I had a student several years ago, Billy Parrott, if you listen, Billy. Great young man, good singer, and he was my TA his senior year. And I was in this bad mental spot. He introduced me to the band Coal Chamber. And just yesterday I was organizing my CDs because they were whatever, I don't know what happened to me. It was like 10:30 at night. Anyway, and here was that Coal Chamber thing, and it's a heavy metal group that he used to express his frustrations and let it out. And so he brought me a CD, and so we could listen to that if I was frustrated. So sometimes you need that. Sometimes you're just kind of, hey, let's just let it see what happens, and you're switching channels. But there's a fair amount of country music in my life. And then my classical music varies more with my emotions. Yeah, and then some musical theater.
Okay.
Sometimes you get some choral music. But when you listen to choral music all day long, sometimes you look at a palate cleanser, and sometimes just NPR ends up, and then that's just great. So.
Thank you.
Great. Well, Jason, thank you so much for participating as a Arts Roseville featured artist, and we really appreciate everything that you do for the community, for the Irondale school community, and your family, and we look forward to sharing all of this online with the library.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.